Hello you lovely people and welcome. Well, time finally came. IndiaFoxtEcho, who I will refer to now as IFE because I can't keep repeating that name over and over and over again, have released their F-14 in collaboration with Heatblur. Now, obviously Heatblur having 5 years of experience with the F-14 in DCS, it was only a matter of time before there would be a transition, whether it had been Heatblur on their own or in collaboration with IFE. Now, this brings in two really good developers. Heatblur have been producing fantastic aircraft on the dark side in DCS for many years, and obviously they've got their F4 coming very soon. I've already got that pre-ordered, so I can't wait for that. But this is their first foray into the world of flight sim, and to be honest, one of the well-known developers took them by the hand and sort of bought their expertise, and well, we have what we see in front of us. So let's get into the differences, obviously, because people are going to be making comparisons between the DCS version and the flight sim version, which they shouldn't, because it's a completely different environment. DCS being a weapon simulator, flight simulator being a flight simulator. So the main differences being the flight model. There are subtle differences, being it's more in a more realistic environment in MSFS. So one of the main differences is that there is a lack of a Mach trim compensator. So yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a difference flying at high speeds, things like that. So speed versus power setting may exhibit minor differences. We have Jester and his pal Cougar. Cougar being the personified version of the autopilot. If you're sitting in the Rio seat, if you're in the pilot seat, you've got Jester, and I'll come back to Jester in a bit. We've got radar. It's got what is classed as a fully functional air-to-air radar, but it will only work with AI aircraft. It has a MLC and notching simulation as well, but obviously don't expect DCS performance. The navigation system, well, they've got a functioning INS, and there are some other bits and pieces that will be slightly different from the DCS version, like waypoints. They don't have associated altitudes, things like that, which really need to be put into a video of its own. Autopilot, they've had to incorporate the basic default autopilot, so you've got heading hold, altitude hold. The attitude hold will also constrain the heading, which is different to DCS version. So with the obvious question out of the way, which I'm sick of answering, to be honest, we can get on with the product itself. We'll come back to aircraft select, and as you can see, we've got the Alpha and the Bravo. So the difference between the Alpha and the Bravo are mainly the engines, the Alpha being powered by the TF30 and the Bravo the F-110. Let's have a look at the liveries of the Alpha. So we've got 18 in total, and there are quite the selection. Different squadrons, some of them more well known than others. I'm not a big United States Navy buff, so yeah, if you know, you know. But they're all highly detailed liveries produced in-house, or possibly by Heatblur, and yeah, have been implemented on the Alpha. Also, the simulation of the TF-30, which had several reliability problems in service, partially due to the air intake design, but these have been modelled in this variant of the F-14, so you can experience engine stalls in a variety of situations, such as high yaw rate at high angles of attack, incorrect ramp settings, abrupt movement of the throttle at high speed and high altitude, but they can be easily identified from a thump sound from inside the cockpit, or if you're in external view, there'll be a bang. There'll be caution lights on the windshield, and a rapid rise in temperature, and these can be solved in most cases by pulling the throttle back to minimum, restarting the engine with the crank switch, and yeah, making sure that the asymmetric thrust is being controlled with yaw, and not to get into a flat spin. So that's the Alpha variant. If we get into the Bravo, this one itself has 20 liveries. So like I say, there are plenty of liveries to choose from. We have the Aggressor here, and plenty of known and lesser known squadrons, like Puking Dogs, Ghost Riders, Jolly Rogers, Grim Reapers, and not one Top Gun livery in sight, which I'm quite happy about. I'm sick to death of the over-the-top Top Gun associations with the F-14. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Top Gun, I love the F-14, but there are times when the Top Gun element of it just gets a bit too much for me, in my opinion. But that's just me. But yeah, there you go. We've got the Alpha and Bravo. You also get the USS Forestal, and these are in place. There are 4 static versions. There's the USS Forestal near Norfolk, Virginia, and these all come with TACAN, and they also have ILS, which is nice because when IFE released their Ford class and America class carriers, they were less than stellar. So it'd be interesting to see what these actually look like. You've got the USS Saratoga out of the Mediterranean. You've got the USS Ranger in the Arabic Gulf, and you have the Independence near Taiwan. So enough of all this chatty stuff. Let's actually get into a cockpit, and I may actually start on one of the carriers that come with the package. So let's get in the cockpit. Right, so I decided to jump onto the USS Saratoga out in the Med. So let's have a look around, and it looks fantastic. Exactly the same as the DCS variant. It looks really highly detailed. Yeah, there is a lot of grime, a lot of wear and tear. The liveries are not liveries. The texturing is really good. Even the filth and grime around the screens is there. It just looks disgusting to touch. yeah, it really does look like it's packed in here, and yeah, I like it. Very, very good. Excellent movements of the stick, and the announcer panels, even the dymo labelling stuck on there. Got old school. Yeah, I'm very impressed. Very. I'm guessing this is just a reworked and ported over model of the DCS variant. I can't imagine that Heatblur and IFE would have started from scratch. And I mean, the DCS variant of the F-14 is very, very detailed and looks fantastic. So I didn't really expect anything less when I knew that Heatblur were involved with this. And with IFE's previous F-14, I knew it would be a good amalgamation of the two developers, to be honest. Yeah, very, very impressed with the look. First impressions. Let's jump in the back. Well, I will say one thing. I don't remember it being so high up in the back. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of space between my view, between the actual instrument panel itself. I feel like I should be hunkered down a little bit more, but I've never sat in a real F-14, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, again, impressions are very, very impressed. It looks fantastic. Like I say, I wouldn't expect anything less from Heatblur. 5 years of developing the F-14 with 4 years of feedback from customers helping in that development. I'm not surprised that they've developed such a high level of detail. It just looks fantastic. So let's have a look at the external model. So looking at the aircraft again, I'm not surprised at the level of detail. It looks fantastic. The deliveries themselves are very highly detailed, and yeah, the aircraft just looks, well, really, really good. Fantastic stuff. Well done, guys. You have really delivered on your promise so far. In terms of cosmetics, I can't fault it. I really can't. So let's get the thing breathing, and right, well, as you can tell, the engines are up and running. It's rather noisy in the cockpit. HUD looks good, VDI looks good, as does our HSI there. Yeah, again, nothing to complain about. The noise in the cockpit may get on your nerves after a little bit, but other than that, I don't think you can complain about engine noise. Who doesn't love a bit of jet noise? If we jump in the back, you can see our radar is up and running. INS is aligned. Everything is looking good, ready to go. Blank annunciator panel, which means no issues at all. And yeah, can't complain at that. So let's have a look at the external view and listen to the sounds. So the Pratt & Whitney F-110 sounds great. I mean, I don't know if there are different sounds for the F-110 and the TF-30, to be fair. Nothing was mentioned in the manual, and I've sort of had my head in the sand, not really wanting to read up too much on it because I wanted everything to be a surprise. But I can't really tell if there's any pitch note differences between the two variants. I'm guessing there must be, because Heatblur have done that for DCS. So let's throttle up. Yeah, it sounds fantastic. A little rocking backwards and forwards from the aircraft as a throttle forward and backwards. That's nice. But yeah, sounds wise, can't fault that either. So I'm going to shut the engines down after we've listened to the Alpha variant, and then I'll show you Jester. So let's have a listen to the Alpha and we'll get on to that. Okay, so this is the Alpha variant with the TF30 engine, so let's have a listen to the sounds. Let's have a quick walk around while that's revved up slightly. That sounds really good. Yep, really nice that. And from the inside, throttles are really noisy. That's nice. Yeah, those TF30s sound awesome. Now, Jester being brought over from DCS to Flight Sim by Heatblur and IFE has been a genius move, and I'll tell you for why. Flight Sim has been lacking any type of multi-crew since its release, and it just patches a void that has needed to be filled since forever. Multi-crew is obviously in high demand, but Asobo and Microsoft are not delivering. Whether that will come in 2024, I don't know. But this, and don't get me wrong, Jester annoys the hell out of me in DCS, but in Flight Sim, because there's a lack of human pilots in the back seat or the front seat, depending on where you are, has been a brilliant move. You can get him to do tasks of the Rio, and it takes some of the load off of you for flying, but it also makes it fun in the fact that it makes you feel like you're working as a team. Now, if you're in the back seat and Cougar and basically personified autopilot, you can tell him what needs to be done and he'll do it. And also it patches over some of the issues that Flight Sim have in regards to things like for example, air starters for aircraft such as this. I mean, the F-14 needed a ground power unit and an air starter to get going. Yes, ground power can be supplied at some airports, but air starters are absent. And you can get Jester to connect the ground power, and that sort of cheats its way into making the aircraft live without having to make a makeshift battery switch anywhere. So it keeps the aircraft more authentic. And I'll just show you quickly a few bits of Jester. I mean, I won't get him to do too much, but you can do checklists. He can align the INS, which is what I always get Jester to do. You can get him to do TACANs, tactical display management, select the radar. Yeah, if you don't click anything for a little while, he'll disappear. He can also set the comms, select your loadout, which is another great feature. because it means you don't have to go into weight and balance. You can actually select from the circle itself what loadout you want. Maintenance, and this is where you can connect the external power. If I click this,
Roger that.
okay, so Jester is now connected ground power. You can get him to disconnect it as well. Any repair, any damage and refuel you need to do, you can do that. You can apply the wheel chocks as well, and miscellaneous things like you can take the toggle his voice messages off so it doesn't annoy you, and you can toggle the non-SDK arrest the wire functionality as well. And the radar will show any AI sim object without limitations. You can switch that on, so basically everything shows up. I'm going to disconnect that ground power because it's bloody annoying. So you can also apply engine covers, and you can add ground power service vehicles. So you can have it so that they're shown like so. And over here, seem to have a bit of an audience over there. We go back. We're just going to have a look at the loadouts. So you can go with clean. Obviously, fuel tanks is a default. You can go for 4 AIM-9s or and 4 AIM-7s with external tanks. 2 AIM-9s, 6 AIM-7s with external tanks. Then we get the real mix of 2 AIM-9s, 2 AIM-7s and 4 AIM-54 external tanks as well. So if we jump outside and take a look, and now you can see the aircraft is bristling with armament, and I've got to say it's blown my mind that Heatblur have been able to get this over. It looks fantastic, it really does. It's just aesthetically, it ticks all the boxes. It really does. It just looks really, really good. So jump back in and get Jester back up again. Go back to the configurations, and you can set yourself as a Bombcat as well with GBU-12s. Stick that on and take a look at that. Okay, and we're ready to hit downtown Baghdad with some laser guided munitions, and we've got the targeting pod as well as an addition. And again, the modelling on the missiles and the bombs themselves look fantastic as well. Now from the Rio seat, if we come to the centre screen here, we have Cougar's options. Again, we have the same pretty much as what we had with Jester, with the ground power and things like that, and loadout and radio, TACAN and INS. So I'll probably go through all of that as a separate video for all the menus, because it can get a bit complex. So yeah, very nice. What I'm going to do is we're going to have a look at the carrier quickly, and then we're going to shift over to RAF Lakenheath for the flight, because well, I'm used to flying from land, and I'll do a carrier video at another point. So let's have a look at the Forestal, and then we'll get this thing in the air. Now I've got to say, the detail on the Forestal has blown my mind, to be fair. The F-14s look fantastic. There are no markings on them, but that doesn't matter, they just look the part. It's a small carrier, so we shouldn't expect too much on the deck, and you can see how cramped the parking is here outside the island. We've got our ground equipment as well as the crew, and we've got our big old I can't remember the name of that now, but that looks great as well as the tower itself. Fantastic, all the radar spinning, really looks good. And as we come across, we've got a couple of Sea Kings, a C2 Greyhound, E2 Hawkeye, and some S3 Vikings to really throw in the mix. I mean, the detail on these static models are great. Let's have a look at the Vikings. I do love an S3. Again, looks fantastic. The rest of the wire's looking good. And we've got a lonely Viking over here, bless him. But all in all, I'm really impressed with the model of the Forestal. Very good. And this one being the USS Saratoga. Not sure if we have access to the hangar deck, but that's not the end of the world. And we've got our meatball and flight indicators there. Our team there ready to bring us in and guide us. So yeah, fantastic work. So welcome to RF Lakenheath. Currently home to quite a bit of red air. If you live near the area, you'll notice that we've had A4s, Alpha Jets, things of those nature, and even some ex South Korean Hawk 62s. But anyway, enough of that. I thought I'd go in the Aggressor livery, and we're just going to do some ground handling, get it in the air, bring it back down, and do some night lighting, and then do the summary. So let's jump in the aircraft. Right, let's taxi down to the end of the runway and get in the air. You'll hear some cheeky comments from Jester, no doubt, and get the wings forward in a moment. I've entered the TACAN 39 X-ray into the TACAN so that the TACAN needle doesn't spin around in circles, because that can be really irritating. So that's got that to stop. So ground handling itself is really good. It's automatic high gain, so if you're on the carriers you shouldn't have an issue getting about. You can assign that to nose wheel steering range, I think it said in the manual, so if that's what you want to do, you can do that, so you can switch it on and off. Right, let's get the wings forward. So you can do that with flaps down, or you can get the mouse and scroll the mouse wheel over the top, and that will bring the wings forward. Do it again, get it fully forward, and now we've got flaps again up and down. So we're just going to go out onto the runway. The ground handling can be quite sensitive, so it's just a matter of little inputs here and there and not overdo it. And you can also use a little bit of differential braking if so needed. Okay, we'll stop there. And we definitely have the wings forward, that's great. Okay, so we have full military power, and it will stop. You'll need to activate the afterburner switch, and then you'll get 4 stages of afterburner. You can configure that differently, but that will be something you'll have to look into, because this is just a configuration I've got. So throttle fully forward, and we hit military stop, light the afterburners, all the way to the top, and away we go.
100 knots.
Okay, rotate, we're up, get the gear up, get the flaps up.
220 flaps up.
Okay, and you get all these indications from
300
Jester,
wings
which is
auto.
great. Wings auto, which they're not. What's going on? Sorry about that. My computer decided to crap itself. So we'll get the wings swept. Head out to the north, well, sort of the north area. I'll head out to the wash, and we'll do some low level and high level. Roll rate is good. The authority is really good, and get the afterburner actually, get some speed up. Those
Fuel 9,000.
Okay, so we get fuel readouts from Jester as well, which is nice.
Whoa, watch the ground.
Yeah, we're not near the ground yet, Jester. This is a very trim heavy aircraft, so be prepared for that. Also, this thing drinks fuel like there's no tomorrow when it's in full stage 4 afterburner, so be wary of that. You'll call out 8,000 in a minute.
Fuel 8,000.
There we go. We're doing Mach 1.2, which shouldn't be a thing, but it is at the moment, just for this review. And it's really stable, really nice and stable. Hands off, it's, yeah, once it's trimmed out, it's perfect. Pull up a tiny amount, see where we are.
Fuel 7,000.
See the wash over there. Okay, and I'm just going to turn around, come out of afterburner, slow it down a bit. Being careful not to overdo the pitch authority there. I don't want to overstress the aircraft. I'm going to level out now. Get the afterburners back on again, and we're going to just pull up. I'm still doing more Mach 1. Pull up 45 degrees.
Fuel's Joker.
Okay, Joker fuel. Okay, we're doing 350 knots, passing 30,000. We'll get to 40,000, I'll roll over. Over 40,000. That was a good climb. Okay, I'm going to head back to Lake and Heath and we'll bring in for a landing. Okay, so we'll start bringing the wings wings forward.
Hey, does master caution mean something bad?
Yep. Get the air brake on, way too fast. Forward more. There's Lake Heath there. Brake into the landing. Reflections are heavy in this, Jesus. Gear down. Flaps down now. In stage 1 there. We'll take off flaps. Start making the turn in. Flaps.
1,500. Check the sink rate.
All good, mate, don't worry.
$200. 100.
Okay. Down. There we go. That was quite a pleasant little flight, that. So we just have a quick look at the night lighting externally, with the strobes flashing, navs on, wing lights, tail lights, all looks good. And on the inside, well, without any lighting on, the flashlight is auto. Come across here, we've got some panel lighting here. We can have it in white, and we've also got red, and we can turn those up and down by these dimmer rheostats here. There you go, we're in red mode now, and we can turn all of these up, and now look around. The whole aircraft is ready for night flying. It looks like we're playing a video game on an old Atari or something. Pole position. And then we can turn up the formation lights on the outside as well. Take a look at those. And the slime lights are active. So now we can see each other when we're in formation. Right, let's get on to summary. So what can we take away from this then? Well, they promised to deliver a high standard experience of the F-14. Aesthetically, I think they've hit the nail on the head. It really, really does look good in and out. It really delivers in that department. Heatblur, I don't think Heatblur are going to get enough credit for this, but I put it to Heatblur that it was them that did most of the transitioning for this F-14. The coding IFE, obviously, because Heatblur not having any flight sim experience needed that side of things. If Heatblur had had the experience in coding themselves, would they have released this on flight sim? Absolutely. I believe it could have been done with them alone if they decided to focus on the flight sim market, and now the door's been opened, we might see a bit more of them. IFE have been in the game for years. They know what they're doing. Their coding, from what I've flown so far in this thing, has been, well, as you would expect, really good. With the amalgamation of these two for an F-14 has been a match made in heaven, if I'm completely honest. It really, I can't tell you how good for the community this has been, to show that you can actually get two companies working together. Asobo and Microsoft, I'm looking in your direction. You could learn a thing or two from this, and yeah, it flies great. It's really stable. Obviously, being an older aircraft, the trimming, it's going to be trim heavy. The loadouts are great. The INS aligning, things like that, give you a whole new spectrum. I know the DC Designs one has an INS that you can align, and that is something that's obviously going to come in the future. Maybe in 2024, we'll have to wait and see. But things are opening up more for the military side of the sim, and things like this really help with that. It just, well, I mean, it's not the complete experience, but then again, I would say that the DCS is not complete experience, because the flying aspect in that, I've always said, it feels like you're flying in a vacuum with DCS. So to have that F-14 ported over, just you can either have one or the other. You have the full flight experience, or you can have full weapons. And unfortunately, it's the two sims that you have to choose between for that. But in this, like I say, Jester, the addition of that was absolute genius. It was needed, and I hope to see a bit more of that in the future, because it just gives you that extra feeling of actually working as a team in cockpit, and also takes off some of the tasking if you're in a pilot seat, and same if you're in the back seat. Sounds are good. Like I said earlier, I can't really tell you the difference between a TF-30 and an F-110. Those of you who are F-14 aficionados will probably able to point that out. But yeah, they've certainly delivered on a promise. The fact that it also comes with the Forestal class carriers, which was a complete surprise to me, and I didn't know that was a thing until I'd looked in the manual, because I read the manuals, always a good thing. And the detail on them themselves could be released as a package without the F-14, but they're combined with the F-14, and I believe the price of the aircraft suits that fact that there is the amalgamation of the F-14 and the aircraft carrier. So you're getting more than just the aircraft for the so let's see, the prices for euros is 39.95, so 40 euros. In pounds, 33.92 I believe. I paid for that on Sim Market, so around about £34, and in dollars 42.64. So you're talking about around about $43. It's completely worth the money. I can't see why anybody would not want this in their hangar. It is truly an eye-opener, and a way of moving forward in the sim in terms of bringing outside developers in as well. I'll sign off now because I think I've talked enough. But I will say one thing: anyone from Heatblur, if you're watching, highly unlikely because I'm a nobody in a sea of YouTubers. Please bring the vegan over. The vegan port would be absolutely fantastic. So yeah, yeah, please do that. So yeah, as a lasting thing, you're getting basically a DCS F-14 for MSFS prices. You're just not getting the weapons package, but you're getting a better flight model in terms of the comparison of the two. So with that, if you got this far, thank you very much for watching, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.